Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the disclaimers here in a moment, but first off, I want you to see that there is an update here. As a matter of fact, I just spent the last about 5 to 6 minutes battling my own computer so I could actually bring you this news directly from the link that I was just made aware of this morning. All right. So, if there is any shenanigans regards to this video after I publish it, I apologize in advance, all right? All right. To the disclaimers and then we'll get to it, all right? If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 900 ABA in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. You know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Also included is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning number one: when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to use those headphones. Number two, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised. So if you see here, this came out literally yesterday, folks. Literally yesterday. Something has been leaked. Uh, in regards to the JRC, in particular in regards to their staff. If you can see the article here, it says that the JRC's NDA circumvents the mandated reporter law. This is coming out of Canton, folks. Canton, Massachusetts. It doesn't get more local than that, all right? So, for those who have never been around the healthcare, or mental health, or disability field a day in your life, let me explain. A mandated reporter is anyone who works for the state, group home, treatment program, privatized specialized school for people with disabilities or mental health issues, which the JRC most resoundingly resides under, schools. If you're a doctor and you're treating someone for mental health or disability, essentially, if you work anywhere within the frame of healthcare or mental health and you're an employee of good standing, you're a mandated reporter. And every single last one of us have to go through a pretty vigorous training, training that is renewed at least back in my day about once every single year. If you did not have that certification, you did not work. Okay? What the mandated reporter law is, and it is a federal law, folks, is that as an employee, if you witness anything that looks like it might be abuse, you are mandated to report it to the proper authorities. Period. Point blank. If in any way, shape, or form you do not do this, you could have not your license yanked, and that's just the very beginning. You'll be lucky if you'll ever be able to work in either mental health or healthcare ever again. Okay? Violations of that particular law. The repercussions for such an act for any sane state within this continent automatically means removal of all certifications and what have you that allow you to work in said fields. Okay? It's not, let's put it this, it's not fucking around, all right? And if you try anywhere else, apparently, other than Canton, fucking Massachusetts, if you try to circumvent this law, yeah, it's brutal. Extremely brutal. Okay? I was, and as I still do the mentor to mentor program and a few other things out here, we still do mandated reporting, even though we operate outside of the system these days. But we still do it because it's been drilled into our heads, all right? Okay, what we are about to go over here, this is what's been leaked, folks. Wrap your brain around this. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center Inc. Confidentiality Agreement for Employees. We're going to read this straight through, folks. I may stop and rant. I don't know. It states, I am an employee of the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center Incorporated, JRC. As an employee, I understand that from time to time I will have access to confidential, proprietary, non-public information of the JRC. This goes without saying. This is standard for most places you go to work with inside this field. That's why so many of us, on top of that mandated reporter training, are also having to get our certifications every single year regards to HIPAA law. This information may be received by me in verbal, written, or machine readable form and may include, without limitation, students' records and other student related information, educational software, curriculum, business, and financial information. Technical information concerning the JRC's graduated electronic decelerator device. Find it funny that they felt the need to include that in an NDA, don't you? JRC, why did you put that in this agreement here? Why do you feel the need to immediately, as soon as you hire someone, put the muzzle on them? Bro has not even stepped within the facility yet. Interesting, isn't it? You see, everywhere else, do we sign things like this? Yes, we do. But the law supersedes any NDA. At least it does out here in my state. So even if you sign something like this, you are still a mandated reporter. So if you witness anything that is could be some form of abuse, you are still obligated to report it whether you've signed an NDA or not. And even if you have signed that NDA, if you keep that information to yourself and it gets found out, Massachusetts, it's becoming a state more and more that I'm just staring at and just constantly wondering what the ever loving fuck. Okay? This is supposed to be a progressive state, a state where many celebrities like to come and visit, some even reside somewhere in Massachusetts or they have some homes out there. A lot of my family on my dad's side still live in that state or often do business in said state. And I can tell you, Nobody in the general public knows that this is going on. Most people, my aunt included, who's lived in Massachusetts longer than most of y'all been alive, had no idea this place even existed, let alone that they're able to, by Massachusetts law, somehow circumvent the mandated reporter law. I'm wondering if they're even actually able to do that, considering the mandated reporter law is supposed to be a federal law. And federal law is supposed to supersede state law, especially in regards of a case that could be potential abuse. It's another session of how in the name of fuck does this one place continue to get away with this and continue to be treated as though they're above the law. Because anywhere else, and I've worked in the field, folks, I would know anywhere else that person would not just be fired, they would be fired so hard that they would no longer even be able to cast their eyes in the general direction of a healthcare building unless they're going to see their own doctor. Like special fired, okay? But let's go on and read this insanity, shall we? Business plans, trade secrets, and other non public data and information, collectively confidential information. For purposes of this agreement, the term confidential information shall be construed in the broadest possible manner. They do the broadest as humanly possible because they want to make sure that they cover anything that a staff member might let slip during an interview with local media, just in case you're wondering. As an employee, I agree that all confidential information shall remain the sole property of the JRC. I will teach all such information as confidential and proprietary. I will make use of the confidential information only for purposes directly related to the services I render as an employee of the JRC. In other words, I'm going to continue to leak out the same stupid, tired bullshit and lies. And I will not disclose or disseminate any confidential information to any third parties without express consent of the Dr. Matthew Israel. Holy Mother of God. Holy hell. In other words, they cannot disclose all confidential information, including, folks, a suspicion that abuse and neglect is going on, until talking to Dr. Matthew Israel. The mandated law exists, folks, so that if there is some shady shit going down in the program that you're working for, you are able to go and report it and get it investigated, whether or not your head agrees with you. Okay? As a mandated reporter, you have a responsibility to the individual that you think could be possibly being abused or neglected that supersedes any form of so called loyalty you're supposed to show to your boss. Your job, if you think something shady's going down, is to report it to the proper authorities, period. Now, there might be in some programs where you also have to let your boss know what you're doing. That depends on the state. But overall, mandated reporting is supposed to supersede everything else. Okay? The fact that they have inside this NDA that they are essentially not allowed to even go and report suspected abuse so that an investigation can be done by the proper authorities. They have to go to Dr. Matthew Israel who's going to sit there and blow smoke up their ass. And if they don't agree, they'll be fired. Let's call it what it is, shall we? I further understand and agree that I will not remove any materials containing or incorporating confidential information from the JRC's premises without the express permission of Dr. Matthew L. Israel. For the love of God, they treat him like he's a god, where what he actually is a sadist psychopath. Upon the termination of my relationship as an employee of JRC for any reason, oh my God, here we go. I agree to immediately return all keys, pass cards, or any other property belonging to or leased or licensed by JRC, and all copies of all material containing any confidential information which I have within my possession or control to the JRC. I explicitly agree that the provisions of this agreement will survive the termination of my consulting relationship employment with JRC. Holy fuck, they really do put a muzzle on them. Not just as an employee, but it looks like they put a muzzle on them. They try to anyway for life. Anybody know if LawTube wants to take a look at this? Because but it feels illegal. It feels illegal as hell to try to circumvent the mandated reporter law with an NDA. Can this even possibly legally be done? Anybody who knows any of the LawTubers, if you got a pretty good relationship with them, if you could go get this link and show this to them, I would like to know if it's fucking legal to circumvent the mandated reporter law by an NDA. And if they are allowed to extend that even after the employment with JRC ends. I think they put that in there in particular because of Greg Miller. They try to write him off, but holy hell, the response towards him because of what he did. I don't doubt for 5 seconds that that weighed very heavily into the creation of this NDA here. Finally, I acknowledge that a breach of this agreement by me could result in irreparable harm to the JRC. Let me play the world's smallest violin. I would rather for the place to be closed down, everybody safely to got away, and then to have the building demolished and then set on fire. And then I want to piss on the ashes. Just in case you're wondering about my true feelings here. In addition to any other available remedies, in the event of a breach of this agreement by me, I agree that the JRC shall be entitled to injunctive and other equitable relief, and that JRC shall be entitled to recover the cost of enforcing its rights. And this agreement including reasonable attorney's fees. In other words, if they basically give Dr. Matthew Israel the double-handed salute, and they move forward the same as Greg Miller did to let you all know what's actually going on. If they go and do, at the very least, what all mandated reporters are supposed to do, which is after you report it to your kid, if they do nothing, you go report it to the proper authorities. Okay? Not only is the JRC putting a muzzle on these people, but they are threatening them with legal action before they even had their first day at work. You see that, right? If I dare open my mouth and report about the abuse and the neglect and the torture that goes on in this place, I agree that the JRC is allowed to sue me back into the Stone Age. And then also, I have to comp up the cost for them suing me into the Stone Age. Most people who work in these fields who are not doctors, nurse practitioners, or specialists aren't exactly rowing in the dough. Okay? Remember, brothers worked in healthcare, medical assistant, all right? They don't exactly have the dough to be able to try and go up against a lawsuit and from someone like the JRC who has access to unlimited sums of money. This is insidious. And whoever the person is that leaked this, I know they're going to come after you. They've been coming after us for years, especially NeuroClastic. You did an incredibly brave thing. Even if you did it anonymously, what you've done is deeply appreciated. You exposed something that's been a major question among advocates and professionals who've been fighting this fight for so long. This also tells me, and it sickens me, that there is more abuse and torture going on behind closed doors than we know about. Because the JRC from day one starts instilling fear in their employees and staff. We're going to close out on that one, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit those comments. I appreciate your time this morning. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you next time.